The Horizon of Unity. For centuries, the map was a puzzle of lines drawn by others, a collection of borders that whispered of distance rather than connection. But Amara saw something else. In the quiet hum of her laboratory, she looked at the holographic projection of the continent. It didn't show borders. It showed pulses of light, heartbeats of cities yet to be built, and the golden glow of a people ready to wake up as one. The dream isn't just to coexist, she whispered to the empty room. The dream is to breathe together. The road to December 2026 was paved with 1,000 conversations. In the Great Hall of Addis Ababa, the Pan-African Constituent Assembly gathered. Amara stood beside Elder Kwesi, a man whose memory stretched back to the struggles of the previous century. He looked out at the sea of delegates, doctors from Dakar, poets from Nairobi, and engineers from Luanda. The ancestors didn't just give us a past, Amara, Kwesi said, leaning on his staff. They gave us the soil. It is our job to decide what grows from it. History is often written in ink, but the Charter of the United States of Africa was written in light. Amara watched as Django, a young delegate from the South, placed his hand on the digital interface. With a shared pulse of intent, they signed the document that dissolved the old barriers. It wasn't an ending, but a vow. They weren't just representatives anymore. They were the first citizens of a new home that spanned 5,000 miles. Django held the first continental passport in his hand. It was small, sleek, and bore the emblem of a soaring eagle. To the world, it was a travel document. To Django, it was a key. For the first time, a student in Cairo could chase a dream in Cape Town without asking for permission from a ghost of the colonial past. The wind doesn't need a visa, Django said, his thumb tracing the gold-leafed crest. And neither do we. Then came the steel and the speed. Zola, a pilot of the New Age, sat in the cockpit of the Great Rift Express. This wasn't just a train. It was a silver needle sewing the continent together. As the magnetic rails hummed beneath her, she watched the savannah blur into a streak of gold. High-speed rail now connected the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean in a single day's journey. Zola gripped the controls, feeling the power of 1,000,000 integrated lives moving as one. While the trains moved people, Django's digital network moved the soul of the continent. He worked in the heart of the great African firewall, not a wall to keep people out, but a shield to keep their data safe. Through his screens, a girl in a remote village could access the great library of Timbuktu in a heartbeat. Knowledge was no longer a luxury, it was the atmosphere. Django watched the data streams flow like rivers of starlight, feeding the minds of 300 million students. On the eve of the Great Transformation, Kwesi took Amara to the center of the new garden. There stood the great baobab, its trunk etched with the stories of 1,000 years. Its roots went deep into the ancient earth, but its branches were grafted with new, glowing bioluminescent leaves. The baobab is our mirror, Kwesi explained. Our strength comes from knowing how deep we go, but our beauty comes from how wide we are willing to reach. December 25th, 2026 arrived not with a bang, but with a dawn of golden clarity. Amara and Zola stood on a balcony overlooking the new Alexandria skyline. The city was a forest of glass and greenery, powered by the sun and the wind. Fireworks didn't just explode in the sky. They formed the shape of the continent in the clouds. People danced in the streets below, a tapestry of 1,000 languages finally speaking the same word, us. Zola looked toward the horizon where more cities were rising. She knew that today was not the finish line. The United States of Africa was a living thing, a movement that would require every hand to keep it moving. She adjusted her flight gear, ready for the next journey. There were still bridges to build, forests to replant, and stars to reach. 2026 is just the launch pad, she said, her eyes reflecting the bright morning sun. The real journey starts now. Amara looked back at the glowing map one last time, but now she didn't need the hologram. She could see it in the eyes of everyone she met. The lines were gone, replaced by a radiant unity. She held a small, glowing seed from the great baobab in her hand, ready to plant it in the next frontier. The horizon was no longer a limit. It was an invitation. "Welcome home," she whispered to the future. "We've been waiting for you."